dumpster fire burns wild. Chaos, shenanigans at every corner. Sarcasm, a holy sermon in style. Dark chocolate, melted chaos warmer. Fighting this timeline with snark. Every soul welcome, but no recorders. Baptized by laughter in the dark. We stand tall, scorning fake orders. In the church of glory rise, with chaos and shenanigans bright. Chocolate and sarcasm our rise. Together we light up the night.
I did figure I would add a warning, just to let people know that we are on the Snark Express today. And I decided that I would continue to pull some fun stories. That way we don't have to focus on this, particular trial. We can have little breaks here in between. So I have been looking up some stories that are crazy and nuts. And will give us a little break. Now, Court TV, as we paused yesterday, seemed to have realized that, seeing tiny baby Evelyn's leg was maybe something people weren't ready for. So in the re-upload, they have taken that out, which thank goodness. And of course, it would happen when I needed to take a restroom break. But just a little housekeeping first. Dingus is doing fine. He seems to be okay with his bulbousness, although he is huge. So he goes from the top of my collarbone to almost down my thigh, and he wanted to crawl inside my soul. He was feeling so bad yesterday. So oh, all right. Oh my goodness. And this one is very jealous that he got all the attention last night. As you can tell, Thor would like to remind you that he was the original spokescat of the channel. But let's get into this case and do this speed run and just admire Glamma's, glamorousness as we listen to things. All right, for the love of Cheeto, sir, I have to start things, sir. And the agent Brian Fraley is still going to be on the stand. They did just show, again, the pictures of the playhouse where, unfortunately, baby Evelyn was placed or not placed. I will be doing a review of the opening statements. I do think there are a couple of things that the state really does have to clarify and prove convincingly. As far as I do want to know how they determined that Evelyn was still alive when she was placed in the trash can. I want to know, why the father maybe wasn't investigated. Again, looking at more background into this case, it seems like all the family is hella shady. Sir, the microphone. Oh my gosh. I love my cats. They want to crawl inside my soul. Oh, I love you very much too. He's my emotional support, loud purrer. All right, let's get into this. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I know this is not a great case, but we are going to be here for each other. We are going to snark it out for our own emotional health and, break it up with some interesting stories when things get a little difficult. So let's get into this since it is a speed run.
As we're looking at this photograph, her head would be right underneath where my hand is. Covered in this aluminum foil. It's still inside the bag at this point.
Now looking at Exhibit 25.
This is just the first photograph of Evelyn's body outside the trash bag. The trash bag has now been fully separated from Evelyn's body.
Now, just a reminder, this is not a typical jury case. They are being sequestered. So again, what a way to start the first day to have to see these. They probably knew what they were getting into, but you don't really know until you see those photos. And speaking as someone who did do jury duty, my greatest fear is that I was going to be placed on a case like this. I can't imagine having to see those pictures, but I know it is part of their job.
Again, the evidence marker number 4, this is my hand here removing and holding the bag. This would be her head on this side of the photograph with her feet on this side of the photograph. Again, as I've described earlier, the head was wrapped in this aluminum foil.
All right. And just so we're clear for the record, when you're describing the head, is what.
And here is the major thing that the defense is going to have to jump. The hurdle they are going to have to get over is, let's say we give Megan the full benefit of the doubt that this was a SIDS, terrible tragedy. To then go and wrap your baby in blankets and foil and put her in a trash can is something that doesn't make sense, even if we, try to put ourselves in that situation. So I do think, in my unprofessional, just criminologist opinion, she is going to have to take the stand and really sell to the jury what her mental capacity was, what her mental state was. And it is going to be an incredible hill to climb for the defense. I do see some, weaknesses in the state, but this is going to be definitely a big hurdle. And I don't know that Megan is the type of person that will be able to engender sympathy and compassion in the jury, because she's going to need to engender a whole hell of a lot.
We're looking at the photograph that's on the left side.
Yes, sir, on the left. If you can see that pointer,
honey,
that's
I
where
love
that's
you,
at,
but you're
but
on my left.
facing that photograph, the head's on the left-hand side, the feet on the right-hand side.
And also, bless his heart, this gentleman is having to look at the worst things imaginable, and he had to unwrap that baby. So I can imagine that this is affecting him deeply. And expert, I am looking that up right now. I know it's in Tennessee. I had this pulled up. It is in Sullivan County, expert, Sullivan County. But just God bless this man. Again, he was the one that unwrapped baby Evelyn and was there. And then to have to relive this on the stand, he is holding it together much better than I would. He's being, as professional as he can be. Yes, expert Sullivan. And since I have you on, and I know that but if you need another mouthy redhead for Friday night, I am down. Thor, no, you are too big to get on the desk. No desk. It is a sad and heartbreaking case, which is why I am bringing all the snark. Welcome to the Petty Express. I'm going to have to look that up. I do know that her defense attorney rubbed me all the wrong way yesterday. He was like when you have a really pokey underwire bra and it is just annoying the hell out of your boob. He, again, laid out the facts of the case and advocated for his client, but did it in one of the most crass and absolutely gross ways I have ever seen. Again, engendering sympathy after you basically said Evelyn was already dead. So, nothing you guys do is going to stop that. And then to say that her lying to the police because the baby was also already dead, wasn't a crime because the crime had already been committed. I mean, it was just beyond crass. There was a better way you could have presented all of that, and he did it in, I think, the worst way possible. Also, he was like an Eeyore.
Reconnect the judge.
It has, but it's just got your blue screen. It's not doing anything.
Now, if I was a cardiologist, I would tell you he is performing self-soothing actions, but I'm not a biologist.
Your laptop may have low battery.
That is a strange connection. I hope that they find something out in the Summerwells case, that poor little angel baby. And those parents, look, as a hillbilly, we don't claim them. I do love that the prosecution is about as technically inclined as I am, so I feel seen and represented. Thank you for the information. I kind of picked this case up on when, you know me, I don't think about things, I just don't
She's
think
the
of them.
MO judge.
Well, I mean, I've got the blue screen, but I don't know if it's. To me, it's
Mo had no help or involvement in the technical setup of this courtroom, although it appears as though I might have.
you should see what I'm seeing on the thing. That monitor on the thing.
Expert, can you explain this vertical shiplap / paneling with plaster going on? Because I am all the confused. I get
She's
paneling
the MO judge.
and I get
Push it all the way,
plaster
push it all the way.
walls, but I don't get them together.
It's 26.
This is 25, Judge. Okay. I believe we got disconnected, Agent Fraley. You were describing, looking at the photograph, Evelyn's head is to the left where the foil is that correct?
That's correct. Looking as we're seeing it, the left here, this foil
My waist
is her
isn't
head,
as big. You're loud.
and down near the item marker number 4 is her feet.
Once you back it up.
True.
Very top, very top.
My house is state-of-the-art 1971. Paneling all over. I call it vertical shiplap.
Showing you Exhibit 26.
Yes, sir. My hand here,
Well, have a great day, expert, and thanks for joining
another
me.
set of hands, Laura Parsons here. It's looking down into the trash bag that that Evelyn's body was pushed down into. And like I said, there is just assorted trash, eggshells, human decomposition fluids, and then on the right-hand portion in the lower section here is that aluminum foil and the blanket with the body of Evelyn right there.
And that's right after you all had removed the body from the trash bag.
Yes, sir.
Now showing you Exhibit 27.
Again, a similar depiction of the last photograph, just it's a wider angle that's kind of showing the aluminum foil that's kind of formed around her head with the rest of her body there, down to probably about her upper torso.
So I do wonder if this was a strategy for the state to kind of negate any sort of empathetic feelings from growing in the jury for Megan, to confront them with the truth of Evelyn's resting place and to just kind of, rip off the Band-Aid really quick and establish that, this is about Evelyn. I don't know if that was a strategy, but it does, in other cases, like I think the Gannon-Stout case and, other cases, they have kind of waited until they're a bit further in trial to start presenting pictures like this. So I do wonder if it was a strategy or if this just was when he could, come in and do his testimony because he is TBI and maybe he's working on cases or something like that. Again, I'm not a lawyerologist, but these are the things that I do think about.
Again, here talked about the aluminum foil head again, the rest of the body. Right here's what I'm describing as the insect activity of mid stages of pupa. That is basically in between the larvae section and the adult section of the insect typical as flies.
Now looking at Exhibit 29.
Again, just a different angle of Evelyn's body that's underneath these layers of aluminum foil, fleece blanket, down to her clothing, the purple fleece onesie with the penguins. And
And at this point in time, you all have not removed any of the items from the body, is that correct?
no, sir. No, again, what we tried to do at the direction,
Tennessee don't care. They will set it straight from the beginning. Look up the Newsom Christiansen case, same state but happened in Knoxville. Okay, let me look that up. That might be another case. I don't know if I am going to start covering kid cases more. They do take a lot out of me, I'm not going to lie. And in fact, what we are going to do once we finish with the pictures is I've got a crazy story to share with you guys. So once we get through this, we will, have a little bit of a break and I will tell you a weird story about, well, straight from Walmart people behavior. So let's get through this and then we have a fun story.
the medical examiner and forensic pathologist was remove these in layers. As you see, that's each picture's best we could do is a layer, taking it through the trash can to the trash bag to the aluminum foil to the fleece blanket down to the purple onesie.
Now looking at Exhibit 30.
Again, this is kind of just stepping overhead, looking down. Same photograph, Evelyn's body with the foil and the fleece blanket and the evidence marker number 4.
Now Exhibit 31.
That's the first, again, as I've described, taking this by layers. So this is us removing the aluminum foil from Evelyn's head.
And if you would, describe for the jury the processing. Was this a difficult process? Was it easy? How was the foil attached?
The foil was attached, it was compressed. It never occurred to me that when the body of Evelyn was placed or forced or shoved into this trash can, that this was a piece of foil that was just kind of put on there. This appeared to me to be formed around her head with the contours of her face, the eye.
I am surprised that the defense is not objecting to this. I would have expected an objection like, where is the foundation that he's a foilologist? And he is sort of giving his opinion. Again, he is allowed, I think, as an expert, to give his opinion on certain things, but I am surprised the defense didn't say, you're not a foilologist. How dare you try to figure out what happened to the foiling? How dare you foil the foil? He might be getting ready to object. I probably just spoke too soon because I'm mouthy.
Sockets, how they're concave. This was formed. It wasn't just happened to be there and the body of Evelyn placed there and it just happened to meet up. It was formed.
Okay. So did it take you all a while to remove the foil from the body?
Not long, no. Like I said, once we got there, we Laura Parsons and I separated the layers, as you can see depicting in these photographs. And And that's as far as we went. Once we got I think the next one will be the fleece blanket. But once we got to the body of Evelyn in her clothing, which was this purple fleece onesie with penguins on it, we stopped, and I'll continue at that point.
All right, I'm going to show you Exhibit 32.
Right. Again, this is just the next step, continuing and removing that foil from Evelyn's head.
Okay. And at this point, it looks like you all have essentially removed all the foil.
Yeah. Yes,
around her
sir.
head.
Yeah. It's off of the head and being pulled away by Laura Parsons.
Now I'm going to show you 33.
Okay. Now this is a photograph of where we're at with the processing with the aluminum foil removed from her head. So this is her body with the next layer, which would have been that gray and white fleece blanket. Again, what I described earlier, this here appeared to us to be, this fluid here was just bodily fluids of human, consistent with human decomposition.
It's somewhat kind of tough to tell because of the way it's faced there, but is the blanket up there?
So here is, I think, a big issue for the state. Again, I am going to be taking notes when the ME comes on, because the state does contend that horrifically baby Evelyn was alive when she was placed in the trash can. Now the defense says that there is no way to determine that, so I will really be paying attention to what the ME was able to prove, especially with the decomposition that had occurred. It will definitely be interesting to see how they prove this, and if the jury will buy it, or if it's something that they find a hole in. Because look, I have only watched CSI, so I don't know how you would tell if she was alive or not when she was placed in there. So that is something that I think the state will have to clarify.
There, is that around the head as well?
So the head is here. This is her right arm. She would be facing to the top portion of this picture, but her head was in a manner that it was backwards. It wasn't normal as I'm sitting here or you're sitting here. It was backwards.
Okay.
In
So he's saying it was hyperflexed, which would probably, look, again, as a not doctorologist and pure speculation, that does seem like she was placed with force. That's my general speculation opinion. But tilted back, definitely fully extended. And that is not a comfortable or, easy to maintain position. And I'm not going to try it again because I already have like neck tension, any hoozles. All right. So that does kind of lend credence as far as, kind of rational context clues that she was placed forcefully. Again, these are just, my speculations, but there you go. We are aboard the Petty Express. My speculations are allowed since I am the conductress. I need a suspenders and a little hat.
and that's hard to depict here, but her body in this photograph is facing to the top of the photograph with her head tilted backwards toward the bottom
you
of the
so much.
photograph. That's her right.
I did want to put out this invitation. If anyone wants to be part of a meme squad for me, I am working on the More You Know clip that you sent me, JKD Buck, but I suck out loud at clipping. So I'm hoping that I can figure it out. But thank you for finding the clip. So I just need to figure out if I can put Mo in there. But look, my skills are... The spirit is willing, the skills suck out loud. So thank you for finding that clip, though. I did mean to tell you thank you. And look, as a, look, I suck at grifting, but I am not monetizing any of these streams for this trial, as far as ads and stuff, because it feels kind of ick. So if you are in a spot that you can donate, I will randomly put up my Cash App and you can, super chat. Again, I totally understand. Groceries are out the wazoo. So if you can't donate, which is again totally fine, if you could press the like button and share this around, it does help with my, what is it, the algorithm-y thing. Any hoozle. Jeff, rest his soul, was the best grifter. I need to watch all of his streams to learn from him because I am deeply uncomfortable doing the grift. So I'm working on it. Because he just made it natural and you just felt like, okay, cool. And I'm like, ugh, ugh. So I'm working on it. It's not my most comfy spot, I will tell you that, but I'm definitely trying to be better at the grift. Baker does it awesomely because he really doesn't grift, he just gives back. I need to do a give back stream because Mr. Mo says I might have to cull some of my future projects. And yes, I am avoiding going back to the Evelyn pictures, but let's charge through. Now, chat, would you be okay if we went to 1.25? Yes or yay or nay? I don't know if they're going to sound like chipmunks. Maybe we should try it out. And if you guys want to go back to 1, we can do that too. So let's check that out. Mostly because I just want to stop hearing about poor baby Evelyn. All right, we'll try 1.25.
Right hand right there.
And let's see how it sounds.
That dark portion out of that fleece, that purple
So
fleece
this is
onesie.
1.25.
And the color is very dark because of the advanced stages of human decomposition.
Well, let's try this.
Now showing you Exhibit 34.
'Cause my
So
brain
again, this is
about
the
1.25.
same stage in that, where this is on the other side of the body, this being the head, this being the hand I just described, the pink, purple onesie with penguins, and the gray and white fleece blanket.
All right. And again, from this angle, are we looking at the blanket there?
And again, the defense is going to have to fight against these natural kind of, if anyone on the jury was a parent, you can remember putting your toddler in one of those zip up fleece onesies. You can remember bundling them up in a blanket. There were so many times when, you're not supposed to put the jacket on with the car seat, where I would just bundle them up in one of the fleece blankets, take their coats with them and put them in their car seat. So the defense is really going to have to fight against this sort of natural tendency that, every human has to kind of put themselves back there to remember when their child was in a fleece onesie. And it is so anathema to, the maternal parental instincts to, even if this is an accident, treat your daughter like trash. That is going to be an incredibly hard hurdle for them to cover because, again, as he is speaking, I am having flashes of all my littles, in one of those fleece onesies, bundling them up, putting them in a blanket, cozy. The memories that engenders are going to be so hard to negate.
Pulled up around the head.
Yes, sir. It's covering like it had been pulled up and over the head. So that is the head on the right-hand side of this photograph with the feet on the left-hand side of this photograph.
Now showing you Exhibit 35.
This is, again, same Evelyn's head on the left this time. Her body facing to the top of this photograph and starting to remove the gray and white fleece blanket from her body. This is her leg down here.
Oh, my older son had a yellow one and he looked like Maggie Simpson when she was the star in the Christmas tree. I know, I always laughed because with my first, I always call them my test girls. Like my first 2 girls, we were kind of the 3 musketeers for a year or so until their younger sister came along. So I remember them looking like Ralphie's little brother. They couldn't put their arms down because it was like my first winter, and I was one of those crazy moms at first who was like, hand sanitizer up to your elbows if you want to hold my baby, and I'm going to feed them organic. And, all that okay, not crazy stuff, but, you know, aspirations you have as a non, child having person when you think, I'll never say because I said so. I will always have, a reason. I'm going to rationally talk to my children instead of yell. I'm going to be, I'm going to limit sugar and, TV. And then real life happens and, you're like, if I throw Cheerios on the floor, is that considered free range? So again, these are all kind of memories and, you know, things that the defense is really going to have to fight against. And again, I am avoiding going back to Evelyn. So, Mo, come on, we can do this. You've got a weird ass story coming up next.
That's like the foot in a onesie that
You had
has
to go
those
play in snow. I think that was the big thing.
those treads, so they have traction when they walk. So that's going to be her right foot and right leg on that.
And now showing you Exhibit 36.
Again, that's the next.
We definitely do hear crying, and I'm not sure if that's a jury member or a person in the gallery or possibly Megan. And welcome, Nicholas Raiders. I hope you guys are buckled in. We are aboard the Petty Express. So welcome to the Petty Express. I'm bringing all the snark. Fair warning, we are at the part where this agent is explaining photos and how they had to unwrap basically baby Evelyn. So this is not going to be easy testimony. I do have a freaking weird story after we get through this to kind of break the tension. But fair warning, this is a child case. Protect your mental health. You're having a bad day or going to a dark place because this is not a good trial for you is not worth a single click or view that I'm ever going to get. So protect yourself and welcome aboard the Petty Express.
Picture of the removal from the of the fleece blanket, the gray and white fleece blanket with her body there, and you see again
And
that's
check out Nick. He
it's gonna be
is
her right
Swedish,
arm there.
and he does all the trials.
and
He's
her
a
right
Longman.
hand right there.
He did the YSL trial. Or is it still going?
Now showing you Exhibit 37.
Yes, sir. This is a black and white photo, obviously. Her facing the top of the photograph. This is her right hand. Again, even though it's black and white, it's the consistent with the pictures just on the purple fleece onesie with the penguins. And this is her head to the right side of this picture.
As we're looking at that onesie, had it been disturbed, or does that show the onesie as you all?
That's
That's
as,
right.
as
I
we
hope they're
finally
feeling a little
remove
better, Nicholas.
the fleece blanket. That's the next layer as we found it.
Okay, so the onesie was open.
Yes.
And, sorry, hold on a second.
And bless his heart. Look, I'm not a hugger. I am usually a big old space bubble. Like, I kind of liked social distancing and I kind of hoped that we would all just stay distant. But I want to give this man a big old hug. I really do. I mean, he is holding it together, and nothing gets me to me more than a stoic gentleman who is really trying to stay professional, or a stoic female. In the Daryl Brooks case, I cried, ugly cried, when the medical examiner lost it. So there is nothing more powerful to me than people that, rarely show emotion, and then, are fighting it so hard in these cases. And he does look pissed off. And okay, I'm not a bodyologist, but let's just imagine, let's speculate that it is Megan loudly crying. Now, This face says, I am trying to hold it together and I read you for trash. Or actually, not trash, corroditated trash water. You know, if you leave your trash cans out and it rains, you get that gross, corroditated, just trash water. He is looking at her like that. Now, that's my speculation. I am not a bodyologist, but as the conductress of the Petty Express, that is my opinion.
Now I'm going to show you exhibit number 38.
Again, this is the body of Evelyn. That's her head. There's her legs and feet. There's her right hand there on that body bag.
Okay. If we can, I'd like to go back. I'm going to show you exhibit 37 again.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
The black and white
It's a black
photograph.
and white photograph. Which, as we're looking at the photograph, where is Evelyn's face? As we're
So this is her head on the right-hand side of this photograph. Her body is facing to the top of the photograph, so her face would be right in here on the back side of, kind of looking at the back of her head. Again, it's advanced decomposition.
Good morning,
and the
folks.
fact that
Hope
there
you're
was
having a
advanced
lovely
decomposition,
day.
did that affect your all's ability to be able to, or how you were able to process the scene there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in conference and at the direction of the medical examiner, the team from forensic center there. Once we got to this last picture of where we were at, the call was
Oh,
made, hey,
wait,
we're gonna
no.
stop here.
Stop the presses. This heifer just learned how to use a Kleenex. Maybe her defense attorney told her that doing the schnoz to forehead to hair, Sarah Boone hair gel thing was gross and off-putting, and she's already kind of off-putting to begin with. So, I mean, as a juror, I'm a judge, but, you know, I wouldn't let it affect my verdict, but ew. Just ew. What is wrong? Like, just that is a 3-year-old. That is a 3-year-old who hasn't figured out that Kleenex or toilet paper exist. Just, ugh. And she did it like 3 times when we were doing opening statements in the first little bit. So, bless whoever told her how to use a Kleenex for the love of Cheetos.
We'll seal her body in the body bag, transport her to the forensic center for an autopsy at that point. And we continued processing the scene there for
Ouch,
collecting
those
the
are so
items.
scruffy.
And we took those items to the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department, just where we had better lighting, better environment to log and process evidence items that were also discovered.
Now, on another note, I will be interested to see from day 1 to day 2 if Court TV does less of the close-ups on Megan. Now, I do know that translated being Lori Vallow-Daybell does not want video cameras in her pro se Arizona trial. But Court TV and Law and Crime have had, you know, issues in the past with defense attorneys for focusing in on the defendant during emotionally charged moments. Now, you know, we might see that the camera is changed or the judge makes a ruling as far as not focusing in on her, because we have seen this in, you know, different trials where the focus was more on the defendant and it might have been prejudicial in their opinion. Look, again, not a lawyer, just a mom and a twice college dropout, making my mother proud. Ish.
You're gonna go from one set of photos to another set of photos?
Yes.
Just leave that like that.
Okay.
Because when you put it down, electronically disconnects from the system. You're like,
And the judge steps in to remind the prosecutor that if you put the Elmo down, it goes off. So keep the Elmo up, and then, you know, we won't have to like kajigger the whole thing. Because he is again as technically inclined as me, which is hilarious because I have about the technical skills of your Aunt Edith. My great grandfather still carries a handkerchief. So gross. He blows his nose and puts that thing back in his pocket. It's a comfort thing. It's not my jam, but if that's the only thing he does that's really weird, then he's survived humanhood with only a couple weird things, and bless him. Lord knows I have about a bajillion weird things, so if it's just one, it is okay.
Agent Fraley, you described the process of, I guess, taking the other items, the trash bags that you recovered from there, removing them from the scene and then taking them to the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Gregory
I'm
Bentway,
gonna
but
hand
we
you
have
a
seen
series.
defense teams
So I believe
get
6
very up in
photographs and
arms
ask you if you can
about
identify what's shown in
the
those.
close-ups and the amount of close-ups on their client.
This first photograph is a picture looking over the top of the trash can, looking down in it. In the bottom of that, the most notable item is a Martha White chocolate chip wrapper with other items.
Was that the trash can the body was found in?
Yes, sir, it was. The next one is a photograph of the trash can with Evelyn still in it at this time. This was an earlier photograph taken prior to the removal of Evelyn in the trash can. What's important and noted here is a piece of chewing gum that is attached to the inside wall of the trash can. The next photograph is after I removed the trash can and the trash bags from inside the playhouse and just set them out on the porch of the playhouse prior to going through the pictures we just looked at, processing the removal of the layers leading to the body of Evelyn.
Oh, Mo, are you worried that your kids will take on some of your traits, positive or negative? That's an interesting question because my kids are so different. So there are different worries for different kids. My oldest is so much like me that I hope that, you know, the regrets I have in my life are because I am an introvert and maybe I didn't explore all the possibilities that were open to me. I could have been streaming, much earlier, but because of my introverted sort of nature, I just didn't, and I could have had so many more experiences. So that's my hope for her. My middle daughter is so different than me. She's such an extrovert people person. It's it's kind of like, did you come from me? I'm an insidian. I'm an indoor cat. I don't understand this need to be around sports and others, but I can see how it just, brightens her day and it really fulfills her. So it's like, holy fazoli's, okay, we'll try to be, as much of a, soccer, diving, swimming mom as I can. My middle daughter is, honest to goodness, I feel like my middle daughter is me if I never felt, she just has such a different beat. And it is so amazing to see kind of her dancing to maybe the music she only hears, but it creates amazing things. And it is just so interesting to see how her mind works. And then with the boys, honest to goodness, I'm just hoping they survive until they're 18 and then I'll worry about them for other things. But right now, my biggest worry is like, can we please, dear God, end the day without going to the ER? I mean, I have bigger worries, but that's my main worry. So, every parent is human, and I hope that they, take the good things that I did and go with that. But I don't know. I think most of my traits are odd and possibly off-putting, so I'm kind of hoping that my kids assimilate to humanity more than I did. And Kay, you are absolutely right. I do like that they are now being much more protective. Again, I am very sorry for the leg picture yesterday. I really did need to use the restroom.
Just another picture, trash can.
That
Evelyn
is
still remains in there.
that is a thought.
You also see the chewing gum on the inside wall of trash can there and the other bags of trash. This next one is the 2 bags of trash that was removed from the playhouse with the trash can. Another angle of those 2 bags of trash that was removed from the playhouse there on the front porch of the playhouse.
Is he intentionally going above the bar, or is that how he just flips things? It's very interesting. Again, he probably doesn't know where they put the bar. I am just, being tinfoily. But he seems to be on the level of F you, Megan. To which I would say, if he is listening to his less than kind or more shaped little demon on his shoulder, he is going for the snark and he is theatrically doing this. Allegedly, in my headcanon, if he were to give in to the Petty Express.
So were there any other items besides those 2 bags of trash and the trash can that were taken out of the playhouse?
Not that I recall. It was all the trash bags and what remaining contents of the trash can.
Okay. The 6 photos that you just described and identified, do they true and accurately depict those items as you found them on
Yes, sir.
March the 6th, 2020?
Yes, sir, they do.
Judge, we would move to introduce those, I believe it's exhibits 39 through 44.
Go, Judge. Before exhibits 39 through 44.
We might have to have a Kahoot Olympics. We might have to break it down bracket style like sports ball. And keep that thought in mind, allegedly, because I am working on something once I get my new
Not asked to publish those to the
capable
jury
room
this time,
and
but-
studio. So, be on the
Agent Fraley, we're
lookout
going to
for
start
that
with exhibit 39.
in the next couple weeks.
Yes, sir. Again, the top view looking down into the trash can. And like I said, the most notable thing that's descriptive is a Martha White chocolate chip cookie bag.
All right. Anything else in the trash can besides that on the bottom? Is that
There's,
what was found when you removed the trash bag?
yes, so once we removed the body, the trash bag that contained the body, this was in the bottom of that.
Now showing you exhibit 40.
Yes, again, a top view again of the trash can that shows the fleece blanket and chewing gum there on the inside wall of the trash can.
And if you would, just kind of point out or
I'm
use the
sorry,
laser
yeah.
pointer to show what.
Yeah, so this right here, it's a piece of chewing gum that was removed, collected as evidence and sent to our crime lab. And again, there's that fleece blanket that we've been,
Okay, putting on my Sherlock Holmes kind of thinking cap, is this what the state is going to use as definitive proof that it was Megan who put Evelyn in the trash can? Now, that is kind of a leap unless they can carbon date the gum because, Megan could simply stay on the stand that, yeah, I always throw my gum in the trash. You can't tell that I put the gum in the trash as the baby was put there. So, just again, speculation. I do wonder if that's where they're going with this particular piece of evidence and why they are being so thorough in, documenting it and photographing it.
going through earlier.
All right. So that was taken before the body was removed from them.
Yes, sir.
Now showing you exhibit 41.
Again, this was prior to processing. This was just simply removing those items. That includes the trash can and these 2 trash bags from inside the playhouse. That's prior to laying out the body bag and removing the trash bag with Evelyn's body onto this front porch. But this is where all of that was processed in the field prior to transporting Evelyn to the Forensic Center for autopsy and prior to collecting, processing, bagging, and packaging the other items to go to our TBI lab for analysis. Again, same
Exhibit 42.
yes, sir. Same picture, or same items, just different angle. 2 trash bags, trash can.
And again, that was taken before you all had.
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 43.
Just the two trash bags with the trash can out of the view of this particular photograph.
And finally, Exhibit 44.
Again, just a different angle of those two trash bags without the trash can in that photograph. And both of those, like I said, were on the front porch of the playhouse.
Okay. And those two trash bags, you all,
Yes,
when
I
I said you all, I mean law
appreciate the
enforcement took them and inventoried what was in there.
Yes, sir.
Later on, is that correct?
Yes, and any evidence that was collected that we believe to be probative was sent to our lab for examination.
Agent Fraley, I know you did and you've described a number of different things that you did in the course of this investigation. Did you personally interview Ms. Boswell during this whole process?
Yes, sir, I did.
And in the course of your interviews with her, at some point in time, did she make a statement to you in which she finally admitted that Evelyn, in fact, was not missing, but was in fact dead?
Yes, sir. On February 25th, at the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department, Sullivan County Sheriff's Detective Jonathan Licklauder and I interviewed Megan.
Okay. And at that time, she told you all that, in fact, Megan was deceased. Is that
Yes,
right?
she,
Okay.
that among other things as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
During that interview, did she describe or give any description of the clothing that Evelyn was wearing?
She did. She described a purple fleece onesie with penguins on it that she was clothed in.
Okay. Did she describe anything else that was with the body or with
She-
Evelyn?
Yes, she had stated she had wrapped her in a dark fleece blanket.
All right. And how did you, I know we've seen pictures, but how did you find Evelyn? What was she wearing and what was she
Those,
dressed in?
exactly what Megan had described to us for the clothing and the blanket.
All right. Thank you, Agent Fraley. If you would answer any questions, Mr. Scott or Mr. Boswell.
Jury's lunch is here, so we're going to break. We'll be back about 1:15.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, bring him in.
Do you want me to step down, Your Honor,
Yeah.
to provide this for him? Yes, sir.
They don't have the
Just want to see that a witness
house.
or allow them to get there. Thank you. What's his name? I don't have to look that.
Austin Feller.
Last name?
Feller, F-E.
Feller, F-E-L-L-E-R.
So I guess they're getting a witness up. I couldn't quite hear it. Again, microphones are a thing. Microphones are a thing. And well, that's what I was wondering about, if there were no questions from the defense. Again, I am not quite sure what happened, so I was trying to hear, and for the love of Cheetos, the lack of use of mics is annoying. When I am Empress of the Pettyverse, all lawyers will have to go to acting classes and audio classes. You're welcome. So it looks like they're calling someone, a witness named Austin Feller. It's so weird to go from an L desk to just a regular desk because I'm used to being able to write on the side. So all my notes.
Yes, sir.
You were served a subpoena in county court Monday, and you didn't come, which is why we're here today with you in custody. I'm going to set $500 secure bond. You can make that through a bond company. You are a material witness in this case. What happens if you don't come back to court after you make that bond? And you are now instructed by this court that you will appear at this court no later than 9 a.m. every day, except Sunday, and that includes Saturday, until you are either called as a witness.
What in the redneck are we looking at? Does he have a double t-shirt with a cowl neck? And, okay, look, I'm not going to hate on his hair. My middle son has this hair. I mean, And poor, honestly, this looks like my middle son that grown up. Look, I'm not going to hate on his hair because my son's hair does about the same damn thing. But he must have been arrested in that outfit. He is a material witness, and the judge is telling him that if he does not show his behind up at court, life is going to get so much worse for him. For the love of Cheetos, just go to court if you have to go to court, okay? I know it's not fun. I know no one wants to be at this trial, but come on. It's not worth getting, silver wrist cuffs. I mean, unless it's for fun. It's just not worth orange. No one looks good in orange.
Or released as a witness. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you fail to do that, and we have to come find you again, you'll be held in custody of the sheriff with no bond until the case is over. And that could take us about 3 weeks. That would be November 1.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You need to be here back at 1:15 if you make that mark.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, if you don't mind, now, what we're doing. If you don't mind, just sort of set the ball just for a minute. All right, we'll be back at 1:15.
Court stands in recess.
All right, well, while we're at a break just for a second, let me pull up the story that I had for you guys so that we can get just a little bit of a palate cleanser. And let me begin this because this is what in the people of Walmart behavior, and I just thought I would share it with you guys because of course you need to know this stuff. And we need a little bit of a palate cleanser. Hide. A passenger on a plane descended into rage and hurled used sanitary pads at check-in staff after being denied boarding. Now, what? Okay, that is a one-way ticket to Snake Island. Madam, no. Madam, no, we don't do that. But we did do that. Holy Jesus, she did. A furious passenger hurled her used soiled pads, I guess they had wings they could fly, at airport check-in staff when she was denied boarding. Gloria Omasor flew from her hometown of Lagos, Nigeria to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi, Kenya for her long-haul trip to Manchester, England on February 3rd. However, while checking in, Omasore was told by airline staff that she did not have the required visa to enter France, as she had booked a stop in Paris before going onward to Britain. She was offered an alternative route, landing in London, but Omasore allegedly descended into check-in rage, shouting at counter agents who tried to stay calm during the tirade. Oh no, the earrings would have come off. You put bodily fluids on me. We are going, old school, taking the earrings off, putting the hair in a bun, even though, I've never been a Rocky person. Let's be real. Yeah, no, she goes directly to Snake Island. Now, the angry passenger eventually ended up being refused boarding and deported back to Kenya, losing the cost of her tickets to France and Manchester, as well as her hotel booking. Serves her right. Actually, those checkout people should get all of the money that she just lost. The airline should give it to them, and they need to go out and have a, fun night, have fun, at her expense. If I was, again, a judge, that is what I would do. Now, footage shows the check-in staff as Omasore confronts the attendants, and after a heated argument, the passenger, who was allegedly on her Aunt Floey time, just, reached down yonder and threw said with wings pad just atop the counter as one does. Because just, look, I'd have to burn the airport down. There's no way you're cleaning out that. No amount of Lysol is going to get me to work at that counter again, let me tell you. It is seen lying on the ground at the end of the clip. Now, Amasori yells in the video, "You will provide me a sanitary towel. You cannot take my phone. You cannot take my phone. I will speak with the Minister of Finance in Nigeria. You will see." Now, the infuriated checkout agent shouted back at her, "Call the president of Nigeria. Call the president of Nigeria. You will not fly on Kenya Airways," she said. Ooh, this is getting snarktastic. Also, I don't think that looks like just a wad of toilet paper, but look, I'm not going to do a forensic, female product dissection just now. "You will never enter our airline again. Call your president." Called the Nigerian president. "We're not going to give you anything, and you're not going to fly our airways again." Now, Amasori stood her ground and demanded a pad, fuming at the 17 hours added to her journey if she took the airline's offer to fly her to London instead. Now, Kenyan Airways defended their procedure and said in a statement that they offered Amasori a generous alternative because she did not have a visa. The flag carrier said, unhappy with this option, the guest demanded accommodation, which Kenya Airways does not provide in cases where boarding is denied due to visa requirements. It is the responsibility of passengers to ensure that they have the necessary documentation for their journey. In a distressing turn of events, the guest resorted to inappropriate behavior by removing and throwing three. I have questions. 3? Was she saving them? Look, I'm not doing the mental math or the imaginariness of that. Nope, just hell no. We strongly condemn such conduct. Yes, we do. That's why she's going to Snake Island. While we remain committed to delivering exceptional service, we expect all interactions to be based on mutual respect. Our employees deserve to work in a safe and dignified environment, and we do not tolerate any abuse from our employees or guests. After the incident, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority spokesperson Michael Achimugo said in a meeting with Kenyan Airways representatives and agreed to deport Gloria back to Nigeria on February 3rd. A spokesperson said, per our discussion with the station manager, the passenger will be flown back to Nigeria tonight. This is agreeable on all sides. Imagine getting kicked out of a country, like a whole country. I would be shame-embarrassed, to my soul if I got deported from a country for hurling sanitary pads. I wouldn't even be able to halfway pretend, to not have shame. Holy God, what is wrong with people? Anyhoozle, I hope you guys enjoyed that little break to give us, to give us a little bit of a palate cleanser. I always pick the ones where the names, I'm like, I am going to get called an istophobe, but it's just because I simply can't read and hooked on phonics never worked for me. But let's get back to this and see what the defense has to say, because I am sure they are going to have some pointed questions. Like I said, I am glad that the defense is being proactive. As much as I am on the Petty Express, I do want her to have a fair trial. Now, that being said, I read her not so favorably, but I am. And thank you, Squid.
Asked that prior to me cross-examining or asking Ms. Fraley about any statement.
Thank you, Squid, for the raid. And guys, go and subscribe to Squid. He is awesome sauce, and always has a baby squid on, doing the stuff, doing workouts, which is stuff I need to do. But, she's doing it all and, raising a little, so she is doing fine. Again, for new raiders, I do want to let you know that this case does involve a child. This particular special agent just went over a bunch of pictures. Obviously, we didn't see them. But if this case is going to be hard on you mentally, It is not worth a like or a click to me for you to be in a bad place, so please protect your mental health. This is a child case. I am bringing the snark and weird stories to try to give us a little bit of reprieve, but I do want to let you know that at the get-go, so you are not, kind of blindsided. Now, this is Special Agent Brian Fraley. We just kind of had a little bit of shenanigans because a witness, Austin Feller, apparently had to be tracked down by TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, because he's a material witness in the case and he didn't want to show up. So he just got a kind of stern lecture from the judge. We are just back from lunch. I will say, bless this jury. Beyond being sequestered and possibly, disconnected from their family for a week to 2 weeks, they first witness had to see pictures of how baby Evelyn was found. The state just jumped right in it. I do not know if that was a strategy or what have you, but definitely they kind of jumped in both feet with this case.
My side, like tomorrow. Okay, go ahead, I'll do it now. Yeah, we'll go ahead and issue
And welcome, Squid Raiders. The Church of Mo is open for business, but we are on the Petty Express, and I am your conductress. And thank you for hopping on over, Lady Tammy. Welcome, welcome.
No, it's not. Part of the reason that's unfortunate. I figured they'd take that portion of the place, but it's supposed to be told. Thomas convictions. Didn't have trial. Can't have trial.
It is a 70s vertical shiplap paneling wonder. I love it.
One of
And
the issues
thank
that
you,
came
Squid
up when
Pro
the
Quo,
state
for the
dismissed one
raid.
count of the
Love you guys. Got to get the little her bubble time. I promised her. Have a good one. And remember to hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much. And petty host. Thank you. And I am keeping the, I had a mistypo and I was going to put host in the last description, but I ended up putting hose. So I'm going with it. You're host and hose. That's what we're doing. I mean, honestly, my mornings with Mo is, come for the news, stay for the hand jobs. It's a single entendre. It's kind of on brand anymore. All right, so it looks like the defense and the state are going here, and it looks like the state dismissed one count. Now, I was told, as I was trying to review this, that I believe kind of all testimony stopped because they were trying to figure out this shenanigans.
indictment, and asked that prior to me cross-examining or asking Mr. Fraley about any statements that Ms. Boswell made to him, that I bring that up outside of the presence of the jury. Since then, it's my position, unless I misheard something, I think Mr. Harper questioned him about statements that Ms. Boswell had made to him. And I think that opens the door for me to be able to cross-examine him about the statements that were made. As a doctrine of completeness, you can put in part of a statement, the whole statement.
Judge, I didn't listen to any testimony about what she said.
You asked if in a statement to him, she ultimately admitted that the child was dead.
That is true. This judge is paying attention. The state is being a little weaselly here, in my lay opinion, if you will. But holding the state to their burden and not letting them get away with shenanigans. Again, I might not like Megan. I might read her as her aura is dark black and puke green, but I want her to have a fair trial. So even on the Petty Express, we are here for, legalness to go legal, lawful law, if you will.
Okay. But I mean, for him to listen, I mean, it's self-serving hearsay. I mean, it's,
Well, I have to see the statement.
well, there's no written statement.
Once they,
There's no written statement.
it's recorded, it's 2 hours long, so thereabouts. But once they ask, I think I'm entitled to ask about the entirety of the statement. I think that's the law. It's called, I mean, the court's well aware, it's the doctrine of completeness, the case law is complete with it.
Judge, it's hearsay. I mean, just it's flat out hearsay for him to try to put that in.
It's,
I will tell the hand job story in our next break, but it is not as sexual as you think. And yes, the state did open the door. The state absolutely opened the door. I don't know why they did that, but this is a clear. They asked him about, her statement, and it's not hearsay if they're going to watch the entire interview now. And that might be something she might make a declarative statement, like, it was an accident. We had a good day. We were doing arts and puzzles. She might have some of those in there, and that might be why the defense is wanting to get it in. As a lay professional, I don't know much more than that, but as a pretend lawyer, that is my guess. Okay, this is like when your parents are. This feels like, as he's looking down with the readers down like this is when your parents look up at you and they're like, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. And you're like, oh, crap. Because there is nothing worse than, being an utter disappointment. At least that was worse for me. So oh, Swifty, if this trial might be really, really rough, but I'm going to try to, snark it up and, break it up with different stories and things like that. But if it gets too much, take a break, go watch kitten videos, because, this is definitely a harder one. But let's see what the judge rules, because he seems like he is looking things up, and I like the readers. But again, I feel like he is at that stage where he is just disappointed in the state. Oh, that. Y'all know that one where, like, you're out in public and your kid is acting like he has no home training, like you raised him in a barn with other wild animals. And so, you're out in public and you can't put out your loud, mad voice, so you get into that ventriloquist, soul destroying voice. If I have to tell you one more time, and I do mean one more time, you are going to the van. And then it's like, oh, thanks for the breadsticks, sweetie. No, you're doing a great job. We're okay. No, sweetie, go. Every mom, every dad knows that. Like, if you do not stop it right now, and I do mean right now. Sorry, I'm answering a question of colors I don't like because I am trying to work on something with someone, and basically the only colors I don't like are orange and puke green. Yes. That would be my kid. That would so be my kid. They would narc me out in a second, and and you shouldn't pinch your kid to get him to be quiet. That's not going to work. It's going to be like, ow. It's counterintuitive and somewhat illogical. But so are toddlers. So are toddlers. As a kid, you prayed for the safety of being in a store because you knew if mama got you back out to the car, it was on like Donkey Kong. That was before, anything. We didn't understand the concept of gentle parenting. You knew it was done once you got to the car. That's why you're like, "No, save me." Cuz you knew if you actually got to the car. Alice G, no, I'm actually up in Mr. Mo's room. Basically, I am commandeering and or taking over his room. He is going to sleep in the front room as we pull all the carpet and kind of redesign my room to be a little bit more accessible to me. I have finally, come to the realization that, my room does need to be adapted a bit to be more functional for me now. So now that I've finally admitted that, I guess that's the first step. We are working on demolishing my entire room, basically. So I will be living out of boxes, but I will have a much more functional room for me. And as promised many moons ago, I will actually be able to sit down or lay down on bad days, so there shouldn't be as many gaps, which would be awesome, especially in the winter and the fall and the spring. Really, summer is my only good time. I'm kind of hoping y'all. I need to rant here. At my local Walmart, they have already put out the bikinis. Now, I did not feel as much shame when I put the big old thing of Oreos in my cart, but I did feel a little bit of afeared that I was never ever gonna get my summer body. I mean, but still, like, you have to put the swimsuits out right before Lent? I mean, it's gonna be Fat Tuesday soon. There is. Now, come on, it's not like I'm gonna give up candy for Lent. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to get it through this life without sugar. I think I'm going to give up snow for Lent. Or people that stop in the middle of the aisle just to talk when you're in Walmart. It's like, look, Cletus and Alice, I'm so happy that y'all got to catch up. But if you could move your conversating behinds over to the side, that would be lovely because I am just trying to get the hell out of here. I mean, that would be illegal when I am president.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. If I had bodyguards, every time I need bodyguards for the boys, but more like if they have an idea and it doesn't pass safety protocols, they are allowed to put them in, a Nerf room. Again, Nerf, if you would just come up with furniture for boy moms, I would be so happy. Look, I need something durable that can withstand the torture of three almost teen boys. So, Nerf, if you could come up with a couch, that would be just awesome sauce from a boy mom, please. And oh, Glamma. Glamma looks like she is done with this. She wants to go home. True. I actually love going grocery shopping. I have to go through all the aisles. I have to see if there are any sales, and if there's sales, I get so proud of myself and I take a little picture and I send it to Mo or Mr. Mo. So I actually, if I wasn't doing streaming, would probably be doing Instacart because I like going grocery shopping. The problem is I would shop for myself. But I do have a secret superpower talent. I can find discount booze like no one else. I am a discount booze bloodhound. But I don't drink all that much, so I continue to just like collect a collection of. I can only say if we ever go back to e-learning, apparently I am still traumatized by 5 kids e-learning that I have decided to stock up for booze just in case. And while we're waiting, just remember to hit the like button. Share with your friends if you think they want to board the Petty Express. We might, have its own theme song soon, and I might get a conductress hat. And yes, I am coining the word conductress. It combines empress and conductor, so I might get a tiara on it. Who in the Adderall can do that? Good Lord. I do really enjoy that the judge is being thorough. Again, Megan needs to have a fair and balanced trial with due process so that whatever verdict that comes out of it is authentic, and if justice is achieved, it's achieved by honest evidence and not conjecture and speculation and shenanigans that we have seen in one or a gajillion trials. I'm looking at you, Wisconsin. If you are interested in a case, a very clear case of, justice denied, do look into the Zachariah Anderson case. A lot of people in the community in law tube adjacent, lay tube adjacent, have done amazing, incredible work about the Zachariah Anderson case. It is just a beast of a case, but there are so many inconsistencies and weird shenanigans that it is a really good case to get behind and, support if you are able or, are swayed by, what you see. Any hoozle, let's get back to this and see if the judge is going to make a decision. And welcome Boosh and Ginger with the Soul. And everyone from Squid Pro Quo. Thanks for joining.
All right, I'm looking at the newest edition, Tennessee Law of Evidence,
Oh,
seventh edition.
daggone it.
on
Dadgummit.
page 8-6.
Your Honorness, could you use your mic?
Under Rule 803, 1.2, admission by party opponent. A statement offered against a party that is A, the party's own statement,
No, he's actually
is not
looking up
excluded by
law.
the hearsay rule. And in the entirety of 806, I'm sorry, of the discussion of Rule 803, 1.2,
I do like the orange laptop. It has been a source of admiration and confusion.
well, in the book, it's section 8.061. But the rule is actually 803, 1.2. There is no discussion of the rule of completeness as applied to the exclusion of a party opponent admission. The only thing it says
Puddleton, this
is
is in Tennessee, Sullivan County.
that the person against whom the statement is used may testify. And of course, this is a criminal case, so she's not required.
Judge, if the court would refer to Rule 106, the Rules of Evidence, I think that discusses the doctrine of completeness and one of the process of flowing case. The case of State versus Torres from
Hold on.
Tennessee.
This is why we have these issues frequently. That's why I set so many hearings before court.
I understand. I didn't expect they would dismiss that count of the indictment today, and
And I forgot that I could gift memberships, but I am going to. So let's see. I got DK Cripple, Volstorm, KLF, Factual Lie, and Denise Bax. And welcome all chatters and lurkers. Again, this is going to be a child case. And he was looking up case law because the agent, and let me do a quick recap. 1 second. Let me write down the memberships so I can put them in my jar, and then I will give you guys kind of a rundown of this case. So this case is Megan Boswell Tennessee versus Megan Boswell. Now, her daughter, Evelyn Boswell, was last seen on, let me look at my notes, because I was writing notes. Okay, she was last seen on okay, the last proof of life was on December 6th, 6 years ago. So that baby would have been 6 years old had she survived. Now, it wasn't until 3 months later, nearly, that the missing child was reported by the grandfather or Megan's father. Now, when TBI, FBI, all of the local sheriff's offices and, personnel got involved, Megan started telling many stories. They would look at leads and then, they wouldn't come up. She would tell them that, Evelyn was with her father, Ethan. Oh gosh, what's his last name? For the love of Cheetos, what was I writing? Ethan Perry, who was in the military. She would say that Evelyn was with him. So he basically got called in by command and they searched his barracks and there was no Evelyn. So then the story became that her mother had taken her and, she didn't report, her missing because she didn't want her mother to run. She was during this time giving interviews, and over the course of the investigation, about 17 days, it came out from TBI and the sheriff's office that Megan was telling, a lot of different stories that could not, every time they would check out a lead, it wouldn't pan out. Now, Megan would give interviews where she would say, they're accusing me of this. I can't do a polygraph. I am with child. And her interviews were in the vein of Letitia Stalk. There was something very wrong there. And internet sleuths, kind of started picking up on she doesn't really cry. She doesn't seem upset. There is something there. That niggle in the back of your mind that you just can't quite put a pinpoint on what doesn't sit right with you. But that's basically the vibe that this case had the whole time. Now, the 17th day of the search, the police officers, TBI, were just exhausted. They had been working 24/7, following these crazy shenanigans lead. And they were getting ready to kind of shut things down to, decrease the task force in this and let people get some rest, regroup, and try to figure out another way to find Evelyn and hopefully bring her home safe. On the 18th day of the search, so February 25th, mind you, no one had seen Evelyn since December 6th. The grandfather, Tommy Boswell, calls the TBI, calls the task force, and says, I think you need to search my property, more specifically this old playhouse that I built for my daughter. Well, the TBI goes out there, and unfortunately, they find little baby Evelyn wrapped up in a blanket, her face covered in aluminum foil, face down in the trash can, and obviously she had not been alive for quite some time. Now, to the defense side, the state alleges that Evelyn, as horrific as it seems, was put into the trash can upside down, and was still alive. So she basically passed away of both obstruction of the airway, and because her head had been tilted back, it does seem like she was placed with force because the head was fully extended. The state contends that she was alive. Now, the defense does claim that you cannot prove whether she was alive or not. Now, the defense, and I will be doing a short review of the defense opening because, honest to God, it was the most offensive thing I have ever heard. Now, I do understand that you have incredibly bad facts for Megan, and you do have to, sort of get ahead of those. And he seemed to approach his opening statement as a sledgehammer and not a scalpel. There were more tactful ways to basically say, the prosecutor kind of ended with, please, for the love of God, be a voice for Evelyn. This case is Evelyn, or about Evelyn. And the defense started out with, Megan is a grieving mother. Now, mind you, while Evelyn was missing, Megan started a new romance with a, guy with a little bit of money. They went to Margaritaville and, Gatlinburg, and we're having a grand old time, while this baby is in this playhouse, just discarded like rubbish. So the defense trying to put on this, she is a grieving mom, and Megan has been audibly crying during this. She also is a fan of this particular schnoz move. Now, I do believe we have finally figured out how Sarah Boone's hair stays as, helmety as it is. But she finally learned today, just like Daryl Brooks learned that tacket isn't a word, to use a Kleenex. So yay for her. Now, fair warning, we are on the Petty Express. I will be snarky. I do read this woman for human corrodated trash water, but I want her to have a fair trial. So I will point out that the state is going to have to prove that Evelyn was alive because that is part of the charges that they are trying to do. And they are going to have to prove definitively that Megan did it. Megan was the only one that did it and was the only one involved. Because the grandpa, the grandma, and all of her peoples are a whole lot sus and a little shady, okay? So there are some, things and that I think the defense can attack, but again, I will be doing just a breakdown of the defense's opening. It's going to be full of the cursey words because it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I heard Daryl Brooks give his own closing statement. And I say that because this gentleman is a lawyer, and the way he presented things was so incredibly tone deaf that I think that he is going to have a really hard time. The defense is wanting to paint Megan as a scared, terrified teen mom that unfortunately lost her daughter due to her being in the bed, and her and her new paramour, either of them turning over and smothering her, or possibly SIDS. Now, I do think that the SIDS was gross to bring up. Baby Evelyn was about 13 months old, so she was pretty much out of that window of, SIDS. Now, the state is going to have to prove all this, but trying to put Megan up there as a grieving mother, I think is going to be one step too far. I do think that there was a way to bring up all these incredibly bad facts about his client without basically saying, well, Evelyn's dead, so nothing we do is going to bring her back. He literally said that, you guys. So when I say that the rant is going to be epic, it will be epic because I have some things to say about that. On a grift note, I am trying to get better at this, or at least not so awkward. I am not monetizing any of these. It just felt a little, ew. But if you would like to support the channel, it is greatly appreciated, but not at all expected or required. Again, liking, subscribing, sharing this with your friends if you think they want to come aboard the Petty Express would be just as great. So I appreciate all of you guys hanging out to watch this with me, and let's see if we can figure out what is going to go on next.
Do this.
I am going to get with Jedi Just to see what count they dismissed.
One what?
106, Your Honor.
I'm going to have to bring up my quiet keyboard. This is hella loud. I am not sure if I will have to look that up. This is speculation, so take it as such with a whole ramen noodle level of sodium salt. Her family background was not one that I think would maybe be able to finance a criminal lawyer of this caliber. And I don't mean that to the sudden expense of a lawyer, I don't think anyone, really expects, but I do think they are public defenders. Let me try to look that up. Or if chat knows, that is, awesome sauce. This case has been going on since, and let me put this up. So this case actually started, or a grand jury indicted Evelyn Boswell in August 2020. So this case has been sort of delayed and, ongoing since then. Again, baby Evelyn would be 6 years old this year if she had been allowed to stay alive. And no, I'm not a bot. What the? I wish I had an assistant bot, but no, I am not a bot. And okay, does anyone else fail those freaking "are you a computer or not" thing? I'm beginning to get a complex. I really am. I'm like, maybe I am a Borg. All right, let me Oh, so it looks like count 18 was dropped, and that is one of the false reports to an officer. So it will be interesting if that is something. And I don't know why they would drop that unless she does have, so charges 7 through 18 are all false reports to an officer. So it's not like she's not told all the Letitia Stalk lies. So there you go. And yeah, she did a lot of interviews. Again, they came off very Susan Smithy. If you lived through that, it was very fake. A lot of smirking, a lot of attitude. One of her interviews, she basically said that she had told the TBI and police exactly where baby Evelyn was in Mendota, I think Virginia or South Carolina, with her mother at a campground. And she basically in a very bratty, very, just Cahoonty way said, well, if the TBI isn't going to go to Mendota, then I'll go get my baby myself. So again, there were a lot of red flags at the beginning of this, and her inconsistency definitely, gave rise to a lot of questions. So yeah, she is just ew.
Jim, you have the first the training that talks about the witness statement in that case.
I'm sorry?
What about the witness case? The witness statement.
It's just the statement.
And let me pull up the article. It might explain a bit more, since I am not a legalologist. Let me pause this and we can see what was going. Okay, so a local news station did an article. So let's see what is going on. Opening statements and first witness, day one of Megan Boswell murder trial ends with a legal dispute. Let's see here. Sullivan County, Tennessee. The first day of Megan Boswell's murder trial began Wednesday morning in Sullivan County. Boswell faces numerous charges in the death of her 15-month-old daughter, Evelyn, who was the subject of a February 2020 Amber Alert. Evelyn was later found passed away on a family member's property in March 2020. Now, the jury seated for Megan Boswell's trial. Among Boswell's charges are 2 counts of felony murder and 1 count of first-degree murder. When the court convened on Wednesday around 8:45 a.m., prosecutors began by stating that they needed to dismiss count 18 against Boswell, one of the many counts of false reporting against her. Judge Jim Goodwin dismissed the charge. The prosecution then asked the defense not to present any evidence on that count, since it would be hearsay without Boswell's testimony. Now, according to the presentment of charges against Boswell, count 18 alleged that Boswell made a false report to Sullivan County detectives and Tennessee Bureau of Investigations by claiming either she or another person rolled over onto Evelyn while sleeping, resulting in her passing away. The court then recessed until 9 a.m. the next morning. Let's see here. When the jury arrived, Goodwin charged the jury and explained what was required of them and how to consider the evidence for each charge in order to be convicted. Okay, can we get to the... The defense opening was hot garbage water. All right. Before the jury returned, Scott said he believed that he should be able to cross-examine Fraley about the February interview with Megan that Fraley referenced prior to recess. Goodwin expressed frustration while reviewing Scott's request, saying that they should have been covered in pre-trial. So Goodwin is the judge, and he did get a little pissy at the defense, like, we had a gajillion hearings, what the hell, dude? Now, Harper and Scott, so Harper is with the state and Scott is a defense attorney, argued with Harper saying that he asked Fraley nothing misleading and had not introduced, or I'm sorry, Harper is with the defense. Switch reverse. Nothing misleading and had not introduced any formal statement or evidence when questioning Fraley. Harper contested that Fraley offered additional information beyond what he was directly asked during his testimony. Scott urged Goodwin to consider his opposition and began to cite legal precedents and asked that the entire 2-hour interview should be entered into evidence for the jury. After both attorneys spoke their piece, Goodwin said the court would take some time to review the law and decide if Scott's request was legitimate. Boswell returned to court at 2:21 p.m. The court resumed shortly after. Scott then took the podium and further argued his stance that he should be able to cross-examine Fraley. Harper then gave his own argument to Goodwin, claiming that he was not misleading Fraley or trying to get Fraley to submit a sort of confession from Boswell. Now, the jury had still not returned to the courtroom as of 2:30, while the legal team sparred over legal precedent in an attempt to sway Goodwin. Now, ultimately, Goodwin said he would have to review the entire 2-hour file of the February 25th interview in his chambers so he could make an informed decision. He said that if he were just to watch a clip of the interview, it would, complicate the appeals process, so it would be safest to watch it in its entirety. The jury was then called back and Goodwin dismissed them for the day to go to their hotel. In this case, the jury is sequestered, so they are going back to a hotel. They are not allowed electronics. They cannot watch the news. It is going to be a very controlled environment. Now, Goodwin reminded the jury not to discuss things, so let's get into the legal sparring. I was just trying to see how, oh, for the love of Cheetos. Oh, wrong screen, sorry. I'm a semi-professional, you have no idea. Mostly because I don't act like it.
9917. And that is State versus Brewer.
It's been published.
Well, dang, I thought you were gonna talk. Yes, Rianne.
No, 6 evaluation.
I will say that the defense is going to bring up that Megan Boswell was in foster care. She did have her baby quite young at 18, and I believe she was in that maybe transitional period, still in foster care when she had Evelyn. The family was a very complicated family, and I think the state is going to have to be very careful to show that they did look at other, suspects. They didn't just, pick Megan and get blinders on, because the defense has put out there that Tommy Boswell, as a potential suspect almost.
I guess the question is, I don't know what the rest of the thing says.
Well, that's exactly my point, Judge. There's nothing misleading about what I asked. I didn't ask anything about what Ms. Boswell said. I didn't elicit any testimony whatsoever about a statement that she made. All I asked was whether or not she admitted that she was dead. There's nothing misleading about that, and nothing about what he's going to ask as far as that. All it does is further their theory. It doesn't in any way clear up any misconception or misleading information that I may have presented from that.
According to
This,
Torres case from 2002, in the defendant's murder trial, the court erred in denying the admission of the videotape of defendant's statements. However, the error was harmless because the evidence of the defendant's guilt was overwhelming and nothing on the videotape remotely implied that the defendant was innocent of the crime. So, not knowing, I don't know what's on this tape. I haven't seen it. Today hearing.
Wait, you haven't seen this? This is big if he didn't get this in discovery. But if he's admitting to not having looked at a potential confession from his client, especially when it aligns with their theory of either a smothering, Evelyn dying because someone rolled over on her, or the sudden infant death syndrome, you would think if she had confessed and, said, we rolled over or something like that, this would be something that he would want played. Now, maybe he did want it played, maybe, I don't know, but to kind of say you've never seen it, that could be a Brady violation, but that also could be, I just didn't watch it. So we will have to see.
That's what I'm asking.
Judge? My understanding of that doctrine, it doesn't, I don't have to show that there's something misleading.
That's absolutely, he does. I mean, it's right out of the,
Can I finish? I'll listen to you. I mean, no dis.
Judge is going to pull this trial over and no one is getting a Frosty. Y'all, this judge is already disappointed in both lawyers. He is turning this trial around and ain't nobody getting a Frosty.
Disrespect anyone here. I'm not trying to upset anyone. But in Torres, there was an issue about that. There are other cases besides Torres. That's the first one I pulled up. There's a State versus Brewer it's the same thing. It's an issue of fundamental fairness. They ask about the statement, and they say, I can't ask about the parts I want to ask about. And if we need to take a minute, I've asked the court for a minute so we can print a couple of those cases and make sure I want to do this right. I know you want to do it right.
Yeah. You've got the cases on that.
Okay.
I do enjoy that this
I think there's a
judge
good explanation
is...
in the unpublished case of State versus Dylan Brewer that can be found in 2019 Westlaw.
I like that the judge is taking his time and listening and being very thorough. Again, I don't like the swamp haggeress, but I do want her to get a fair trial. So I am glad that he is taking his time and he is looking at everything. I don't know if I'm the only one thinking that. Can you go to the pool and the bar at the hotel restaurant or the restaurant? I don't know. I will be very honest. The last vacation I had with my mom 2 years ago was the first vacation to like a hotel I had in about 14 years. Like I said, I'm an insidian. I'm an indoor cat. So like, give me my room and my house with everyone out of it. And that's a vacation to me.
1109917. I forwarded that to your assistant and asked her if she would print it. I have not. And I've given that citation to the state as well.
And Judge, I would go back to the part, the rule requires that a writing or recorded statement or part thereof be introduced by a party. I did not introduce any part of her statement. I asked Detective Fraley if
You
she
kind of did, dude.
ultimately admitted
I mean-
that her child was dead. I didn't ask what she said. I didn't ask how
I want to be that
she
person,
did.
but
If
you
she did it,
kinda
if she admitted she did it, if she said she didn't do it.
What you asked was if if she made that statement to me, in which she get, I mean, I don't have her go back. If that's what you want me to do, I mean,
And these are the tickets, they're finally done because, I'm
I
just.
would further
that
point the court that the
sometimes.
footnotes to
But
the rule of
congratulations to
completeness
the new members of the
106
Church of
clearly
Moses.
talks, Mr. Scott
Welcome.
said it didn't, but it clearly says, rule providing that when a writing or written recorded statement or part thereof is introduced by a party, an adverse party may require the introduction at that time of any other part or any other writing which ought in fairness to be considered contemporaneously with it, provides an adverse party a mechanism for putting portions of the writing into context if the portions would otherwise be misleading.
Well, I'm naturally blonde. but I
There's
still
nothing
hate this song.
misleading about what I asked Agent Fraley. He's not trying to clarify anything.
Hopefully, Court TV will pop in and kind of give us
Unless he's
the
in some way
legalese
trying to
of this.
insinuate that the child wasn't dead.
well, we're gonna take a minute, I'm gonna look at whatever cases.
They didn't come through that. Did you find one?
Yes, Judge, they're having a hard time going through it. We can have a minute, I'll
Yeah.
collect and send them back. Yeah, I just may need the time to do it.
Honestly, I'd be okay with that, which is why I would be
Your Honor, may I
a
step out
terrible
for a few
judge.
minutes?
Yeah, we'll take, we're still on,
Ooh, she has a pink Stanley. Well, fancy. Ooh, and Grandma has a blue Stanley. Now, I will say that this case was really big in the true crime community. I do believe if you would like to learn more about this case, kind of a story time, Misery Machine is a really good channel. I will try to, yes, this is day one, Marcy Cruz. I am behind Mr. Dingus, Lord of Chaos, middle manager of the destructive zone of hell, had to get debulbed. Mr. Dingus is my Maine Coon, and he was not in the mood to do anything but cuddle, so I could not cover this all yesterday. I do have the opening statements in another live stream. And I will be reviewing and going over the opening statements probably today in a video, in a shorter video, kind of giving you my thoughts on those. And then day one and my thought on that. Kind of like Baker does, I'm just copying. But he does it really great and he is awesome. So I am just trying to learn from a really good creator. I do like being able to speed run, and I am glad that I will be upstairs tonight, and maybe I can do some later night streams and then go right to bed, which would be nice. Bush McFadden, I do think that, so from what I understand of the Casey Anthony trial, remembering that I am not a lawyerologist, I do believe that the state may be overcharged. I think they went for first degree premeditated unaliving, and I don't think that they proved that. And the jury, following the rules, didn't think that they had proved that it was premeditated. That being said, had they gone for manslaughter or murder too, I think she would be in orange, learning, from her new best friend, Sarah Boone. They could just, was it Kinsu Kusaroy or whatever the hell she said, just gold dust themselves everywhere. Oh, okay. I can honestly say I did not get into the Casey Anthony case. I had young girls about her daughter's age, and I just really, it bothered me too much. I'm I'm more removed from the toddler stage now, so while Evelyn is this case is not a great case, I'm a little removed from that. The Lake and Riley case was honestly god awful. Being a mom, having kids that are getting ready to fly the nest, it as a parent, you know that you are sending your kids out into a world that has monsters and, you know, has all these bad things. And I think we all think that it's never going to happen to our family. And I think Lake and Riley showed that it can happen to any family. And MLS, I will give you the quick rundown. This is the state of Tennessee versus Megan Boswell. This is a child involved case. Basically, Evelyn Boswell, the young child, was last seen, proof of life that we have actual proof of, December 6th of 2000 and 2019. Now, she wasn't reported missing until nearly 3 months later. All during this time, Megan Boswell has a new sort of moneyed boyfriend. They are going to Margaritaville. They are going to Gatlinburg. They are doing a lot of things, and family and friends are getting increasingly concerned because Megan Boswell will not give a straight answer as to where Evelyn is. Now, let's see, what day did they call? I'm looking at my notes, but apparently I write like myself. So eventually, and thank you, Jane Doe, for the New Room project. Thank you so much. And for the, is that a euro 250? Thank you so much. Or is that a pound? I'm not a moneyologist. Good Lord, I don't know a whole bunch, but I try. And there is your ticket. Thank you so much. I have my shadow box boxed up, but I have this lovely, cool little gumball jar that everyone's tags are going in. Now, yes, I will get to that point, Alice G. No, Jane Doe, I appreciate it so much. I live in the real world. I understand how much groceries are and everything is. So it is honestly so appreciated. Any support is so great. And that's why, Baker does the Post-its. I decided to steal it and do tags and do shadow boxes. So, it's just to show how much we appreciate it. We know that it's not required. We know that you guys don't have to. And we just really appreciate, likes, subscribes, thumbs up, share with your friends if they want to get on the Petty Express. But back to the story. So eventually, Tommy Boswell, calls the police because he has set an ultimatum that if I do not see my granddaughter, I will be calling the authorities. Now, the authorities were brought in, and Megan Boswell is giving Letitia-style wild goose chase stories. First, she implicates Ethan Perry, the man that she had claimed was the father of Evelyn. Now, he was down doing military training out of state, living in barracks, but basically the FBI, went into the military base, they tore things up. They were looking for Evelyn at this military base, and Ethan Perry was like, she's never been here. And, that turns out to be a false lead. Then Megan says that her mother, who, again, the family is a little sus, if you will. Again, as a hillbilly, we do not claim these people, okay? We are clean. We just, we're a little country. Those people are just, no, those are the hills have eyes people, okay? But now Megan is saying that Evelyn is with her mother, and the mother's had her this entire time. And, she didn't call in and say Evelyn was missing because she was afraid that her mother would take her. When this didn't pan out, she changed the story just a little bit. Now her mother had taken her child and, like in the Skelton brothers case, given them to some shadowy person so she could have a better life. Again, that turned out to not be the case. About 17 days into the task force's involvement in this case, after Amber Alerts, after chasing down all these, disparate leads, they're getting ready, and there are discussions of shutting down, at least reducing the size of the task force. But on the 18th day of the search, Tommy Boswell calls and says that they should search his property, and more specifically, a playhouse that he had made for his daughter. So the TBI goes there, and Agent Brian Fraley is one of the TBI agents that was there that night, and basically found baby Evelyn upside down, wrapped in a blanket. Her face was covered in foil, head tilted back, placed face first in this trash can. Now, what I will say is that the state now contends that the medical examiner will be able to prove that baby Evelyn was alive when she was placed in a trash can. Now, because of decomposition, because she was there for approximately 3 months, I am not sure how they're going to prove that, because the defense is going with either the rollover or sudden infant death syndrome defense. Basically, Megan being young, being a young mother, overwhelmed, when she found that her baby was no longer alive, either through smothering or SIDS, she panicked and wrapped her baby up, put foil on her, and stuffed her in the trash can. Now, I will be going over specifically the defense's opening. While he zealously defended his client, I think that he might have rubbed every single person the wrong way. He was very crass, in my opinion. Now, maybe he was doing it to just lay facts on the table and say, look, whatever you and the jury do, because the state did close their opening statement with, give justice to Evelyn. You are the ones that have the power to do that. He kind of opened his opening statement with, look, this is a tough case, but Evelyn is dead. And whatever you do in this case, it's not going to bring Evelyn back. Now, while that is true, it was a very startling opening. And I do think that he, again, could have taken all of the points that he had and put them into a much better opening. I have all the cursey words for that. But let's continue with this. Now, we are at a legal impasse right now. The agent on the case was asked by the prosecution near the end of his testimony on direct about a statement that Megan had given on the day they found Evelyn, the 25th of February, and basically where Megan had confessed to the either smothering or SIDS scenario. Now, unfortunately, that is the charge. If the defense attorney is reading this right, the state dismissed that charge. Now, what the defense wants to do is play the entirety of the interview, and the state is basically fighting. Now, for the rest of the day, it is going to be the judge kind of going through and looking at case law. So that is where we're at right now. Hopefully that has been a good review for you. I'm trying to get better at these things, but I like to talk. Who knew? In a too long didn't read, as we learned in the article, eventually the court does go to recess. The judge decides that he wants to listen to the interview in its entirety before he makes a judgment, and to look at all the case law that both the defense and the state presented. So we will probably be hearing a little bit of that and then going into day two. Now, we have identified Grandma with the good hair, And the judge has Tennessee Orange as his laptop, which is just delightfully eye-catching. And that is not a hot dog. That is a rocket. I was confused yesterday, but I am naturally blonde under here, so this is just artificial intelligence. Hey, it's vertical shiplap, young man. It is classy. Classy, classy. I did wonder. The problem with them going quiet for a long time is that I go fast as I can and then they start talking and they sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It is a model of the space station, not the Oscar Mayer Wiener mobile after a tragic accident. Because I was like, why is that hot dog vertical? And I was like, because it's a rocket, you dingus. Now, I will say that the female attorney did the state's opening, and I did appreciate that she brought just a scotch. I mean, not a whole lot. Again, this isn't closing, but she did bring sort of just a little bit of spice. It was understated, but she did do a lot of finger pointing. I will give her that. She did look and point at Miss Megan Boswell a couple few times. Wow. Okay, MLS, I need you to give judgment on this tie. This tie, maybe for 4th of July, holy God, what in the loud and loud. Look, I get being patriotic, I really do, but it makes me want to go to a barber shop. Bush, that is a good question I need to dig into. I'm going to be honest, Dingus was high as balls last night, and he was a scared. He was like, I don't know what's going on, man. So I kind of had to hold him and talk him down. Can't stream tonight, cat too high, you know. So I will look into who is the actual father, because unfortunately, in cases like this, there are ripples of victims. Again, I want you to imagine that not only have you been told that you have a child, you're going to the military, maybe trying to better yourself, and all the while you think the mom is doing okay. Maybe you're getting a few pictures, you know, things like that. You're not really close to the mom. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, nowhere, your commanding team comes in to the barracks and asks you where your daughter is. And you have been unaware that she's been gone for 3 months. You learn all of this as you are currently a suspect in the disappearance of your daughter, because the mother of the daughter has pointed the finger at you. So they search your barracks, search, everything, go through your phone, all that. So you are living in the realization that your daughter is missing, and the mother is telling these wild, wild stories. Then comes 18 days later, when, unfortunately they find baby Evelyn and they're trying to identify her. They do a DNA test, and oh my God, you're not the father. This poor young man, I mean, just absolute devastation, because not only did he lose his daughter once, but it has to feel like he is grieving just multiple losses of his daughter. I cannot imagine doing something so evil. She should be she should be on trial for paternity fraud, but in the grand scheme of things, they probably didn't, proceed to charge it. Well, also, I think that's in family court, but, I would charge her for being an absolute cahoot. But this is why I'm not a judge. I'm just the conductress of the Petty Express. Sorry. Yeah, no, he got debulbed. Thanks, Chad. I could never do that. These women that bring like 9 people, ma'am, just ma'am. Okay, I think this is the point where he's going to watch the entire interrogation or confession. Now, objectively, and I say this with ugness, but objectively, they have Megan dressed very sympathetically. Her hair is down. It does give a younger, more youthful look. They are trying to play upon she was a young and vulnerable teenage mother. And I think,
All right, Mr. Scott, you've handed me 4,
I
3, 4 cases.
4, I think. Here, here. Judge, I handed you the unpublished case of State versus Brewer, and that case contains a pretty good explanation that it does cite to several published cases. If you go to, if the version you have of Brewer has a page 12 at the bottom, does it?
Yep.
If you go down to the last paragraph of page 12, it talks about 106 is a rule of timing and admissibility, and talks about whether it's not immediately clear where it would admit the introduction of otherwise admissible hearsay. That paragraph goes on to state, though, however, it has long been the law in the state when a part of a confession or admission is entered into evidence, the defendant is entitled to have the jury consider the entire confession. That cites Curry versus State, 397 Southwest 2nd, 179, at 181. That's Tennessee Supreme Court, 1965. And Samblin v. State, 387 Southwest 2nd, 817, at page 820, and that's, again, Tennessee Supreme Court, 1965. And they go on in this case, they talk about when when a confession is admissible, the whole.
JKD Buck, I cannot imagine the shenanigans of a Southern Jamaican accent. That sounds like a hybrid I would love. Yes, MLS. So the issue is, and let me see if I can. This particular agent did speak about Megan confessing on February 25th. Now, the defense is contending that because the state dropped that charge for that particular confession, that because the state asked about, her confession on the February 25th at the end of direct, that the state had opened the door to Megan's confession coming in. Now, this would be good for the defense because the defense contends that this was either a accidental smothering death or sudden infant death syndrome. And because she confessed to possibly having smothered her child and then taking the body and doing what she did, this would go forward with, their theory of the case. And MLS said, I stepped away for a minute, but it sounds like they're arguing about whether or not all of the defendant's statements can come in. This is always a huge issue. Under normal hearsay rules, a defendant cannot admit their own statement. I hope this defense attorney wins because it's a stupid rule. Now, MLS, I will say that this judge is being incredibly thorough. He had decided to watch the entire either interview before he made a ruling, and the rest of the day is basically them looking at case law. He finally sends the court into recess and says he wants to continue to look at case law and then they will proceed to day 2. So I do like that this defense is being very vigorous. Again, as much as I read this chick for absolute corrotated trash water, I want her to have a fair case. I want her to have a zealous attorney, because getting a victory just because her attorneys want to phone it in is not the way justice works. I want this to be a real case. I want the state to have to prove things, because the state is still the state. And we know how the state is. Again, I'm looking at you, Wisconsin.
Of what the accused said upon the subject at the time of making the confession is admissible and should be taken together. If the prosecution failed to prove the whole statement, the accused is entitled to put into evidence all that was said to him or by him at the time which bears upon the subject of controversy, including exculpatory or self-serving declarations connected herewith. It is for the jury to say what weight shall be given to several parts of that statement. For they may well believe the part that which charges the prisoner, and reject that which tends to exculpate him. And that's a direct quote from State versus Robinson, 622 Southwest 2nd, 62 at page 71, Tennessee Supreme Court, 1980. And in this case,
Okay, not for nothing, defense attorney, but I say go bald. The Friar Tuck look is, I mean, maybe it floats some people's boats. It's just not my personal jam, but now I am going to put him in robes on the thumbnail.
Brewer, the Court of Criminal Appeals goes on. This case is kind of almost on all fours the way I see it. The Rule 106 here in Brewer, the state examined on direct examination a witness about a statement. It did not put in a play that it put the physical statement in, nor did the officer read the statement verbatim. But they said the rule of fairness should allow you to place the whole statement in. And I think, Mr. Fraley was asked in this case, he was asked about taking a statement. I think he was asked a couple of times about taking a statement. And he was asked about her admitting that the child was dead. Well, certainly in a missing persons case, when you admit to the police that it's been shown and alleged that you're lying to, and Mr. Fraley, although the court granted an objection, said earlier that she was telling lies. And then when she fesses up and says the baby is dead, certainly the court should take that as a confession.
Gregory, Mr. Moe suffers from divotty head too, but this defense attorney looks like he has no divots. I say go for it. And yes, if they don't raise an appeal right now or raise an objection, then it's like, it's, they have to put things up. Again, as I always say, I want everyone to have good lawyers so everyone gets, real justice. Oh, hells yes. But then you'd have to wear a bandana, and I don't know if bandanas are, or what, the little cap thing that Hulk Hogan wears so we don't know that the top's gone. He really did pull a Tim Pool. Just kidding, Tim. I love you.
And I think he was asked about the baby being dead, and the response was that the baby was dead, among other things. So that leaves that out there for the jury to be wondering what the other things are. That's my recollection. That's Mr. Horn's notes. Now, that's essentially my argument. I'll rely on the other cases I gave you, but I think that Brewer case gives the best explanation. Although it's an unpublished case, the cases it cites to certainly are published. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. If not, I'll yield to Mr. Harper.
Oh, Grandma is, ooh.
Yeah.
Judge, I would agree with Mr. Scott.
No, we are baccanating that because on the Petty Express, we appreciate and we like snarky looks. So, snaps for snark. Grandma does not like the defense attorney. Grandma is done with the defense attorney and he just did openings. He hasn't even done a cross. I mean, if that side eye is to be, I am a snarkologist. I am not, an ologist of any other thing, but snarkology I do know. And Glamma is our spirit Glamma. I mean, I'm kind of on pins and needles as to what fabulous hair we're going to get tomorrow because I need to step up my game. Glamma is killing it. Killing it.
Yeah.
Judge, I would agree with Mr. Scott. I think the Brewer case is on point. I would disagree with him as to how he's reading it, however. One, I don't think anything about what I elicited was in any way a confession.
She is actually the judge's assistant. Yes, Grandma makes the best sweet tea and fried, chicken fried steak, but she will also make you pick your own hickory stick. I think she's that kind of grandma. Like, she is sweet as pie, but she will not let you get away with shenanigans and the psychological torture of going to get your own switch. Parents used to be hardcore. We're talking about gentle parenting. We had like full contact parenting. That's why so many of your generation are indoor cats. Now, I was an indoor cat before it was cool, I would like to point out.
By Miss Boswell. And two, I would rewind a little bit from where Mr. Scott quoted on page 12 of the opinion. Because the danger that we're trying to avoid here is misleading the jury by providing only inculpatory parts or parts that somehow make the defendant, put the defendant in a bad light, and not putting forth the parts that are inculpatory or in some way would mislead the jury about the proof. And then the paragraph above where Mr. Scott quoted, the rule
That's why you don't mess with us latchkey
completeness
kids.
that was explained by the Supreme Court, it talks about that the rule must do one of the following, and then it lists four things. One, explain already admitted proof. Two, place admitted proof in context. Three, avoid misleading the trier of fact. Or four, ensure a fair and impartial understanding of the already admitted proof. Well, what he's trying to elicit doesn't do any of that stuff.
See, that's my problem. My problem is, I don't know what he's trying to do.
Well,
I have not been told yet.
all right, I guess I'll go ahead. I believe he's trying to elicit that what Ms. Boswell told Agent Fraley was that her.
Clearly step out.
Okay, wait a minute. I just spotted something. Is this a can of Aquanet right on her daggone desk? Because, Glamma goals. Glamma goals.
And Mr. Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what he's trying to elicit is that Ms. Boswell told Agent Fraley that Hunter Wood, the defendant's boyfriend, rolled over and killed the child.
Dang. In my head canon,
And that was what she told Agent Fraley at that time.
Aquanet. And making law simple. This is why the rule is stupid. Now the defendant is forced to testify, which you have a right not to, or now to do, maybe not. But because police don't want to give the whole story, she is forced to. Now, David, I will say that the judge does go back and listen to the entire interview. I haven't looked ahead today too, so I don't know what his ruling was in particular. I guess we'll learn when we get there. Look, in my head canon, it is White Rain or Aquanet, and she just and deals with humidity that way. Look, I reject your reality and substitute my own. You should see me in my car. I believe I'm in, the band Heart, and I am jamming out. Honestly, I do that in Walmart too. Maybe that's why I get funny looks. Anywho, who knows? It means that people don't talk to me. They think I'm weird, and I'm okay with that. Besides, I'm listening to the police, and who can't jam out with that?
I don't know how that corrects in any way his statement that she admitted the child was dead. I mean, if anything, that's the fact she was there is more inculpatory to elicit that than it is correcting any sort of misleading impression that might be out there as a result of what Agent Fraley's already testified to.
Oh no.
Are you satisfied that that's an accurate summary of what the proof is, or do I need to hear the whole 2 hours?
I would,
Because there's, in this case that I gave you, I don't recall which one it is, but I read that one of the arguments was that the defendant on possibly the post-conviction case, there was argument that because the judge relied on the summary of the proof instead of reviewing the entirety of the proof, that the judge couldn't make that decision.
I think, and Mr. Harper can correct me if I'm wrong, I think I'm generally satisfied with what she's
Absolutely,
saying, but she
completely
explained
true.
how the baby died.
Never talk to the cops without a lawyer. This is another prime example of why not to, even if you're innocent. Yeah, absolutely. Again, they are not there to help you. They are there to convict you. And if they give you your Miranda rights, for the love of all that is holy, be silent. I know it's difficult. They're going to try to tempt you to talk to them. They're going to call you all sorts of monsters, and they're going to take you directly to jail. But keep your mouth shut, because you don't want to be Sarah Boone's lawyer, and you're like, yeah. And as we learned in the Delphi case, honest to goodness, don't talk to cops at all. Look what happened to Richard Allen. If your lawyer wants to say something to the cops, let your lawyer do it, but you don't say anything to anyone ever about anything. That's how I run my life. My husband doesn't even know my password. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't know my password because I forget it. So then I have to write a new password. Not super stealthy. And welcome, Haley Mouse. Well, look, I get tangenty. I'm not gonna lie. Speed run means, well, look, I'm new to speed running, and speed is maybe not my jam. But it's my, it's my second time as conductress of the Petty Express. So, give me a chance to learn this whole speed run thing. We'll be fine.
Where the baby, or maybe not where the baby went, but I think that Hunter took it in that statement. Am I right about that?
And yes, they have been waiting this entire time.
She gives an explanation. And I guess what I'm trying to say right now is it's fundamentally unfair, and I think it does satisfy at least one or two of those things that Mr. Harper's talking about in the paragraph above from Brewer. Explains the already admitted proof and puts it in context. Well, right now you have a case where the jury's heard this TBI agent say, yeah, she's lied, and she's basically led us on wild goose chases, but she finally admits the baby's dead without putting in the full explanation of what she told them. And I think for the jury to hear that, there's no mention of anyone else and what was put
Amen.
in. She tries to explain to him what happens, and I think it explains it, and it avoids misleading the prior fact from the standpoint of the jury.
Startle awake terrified.
You don't know what this proof is. Mr. Harper and me, Mr. Harper, Ms. Maskill, we know it. And I think you said that's where you're struggling. Well, you have
Obviously it's where I'm struggling,
Well-
because the test that the Tennessee Supreme Court has given to the trial judge is that it is an issue of fundamental fairness. It isn't an issue of one snippet of one statement misleads the jury. That's not the test. That's not the question. The question is it fundamentally unfair if I, as a trial, don't allow you to put in the entirety of the statement based on the very narrow, and I understand General Harper was being very careful and cautious in what he was asking. So what I think where we're at is that I'm going to have to, is it transcribed? Is it audio? Is it video?
Print. Video. It's 2 hours.
Well,
I guess we could fast forward to
I
that.
think I've got a clip of just that portion.
Well, here's the other thing. If you want to give me just a clip, obviously it speeds it up today, but then if the jury ultimately convicts, then on post-conviction or during the appeal, the argument's going to be, oh, well, the judge didn't review the entirety of the statement. And therefore,
I do like the judge is being very careful and thinking about appeals, and he does go on to watch the entirety of the interrogation. But the jury is basically sent home. Again, this jury is sequestered. This is a highly charged case. It involves a child. It was highly publicized. There were statewide, Amber Alerts for this baby girl. Basically the entire town, the entire locality, and many different agencies were involved in trying to find this baby. So this is a highly charged case, and the jury is being sequestered. And gonna
he couldn't
finish
have
this
made
up, and then I will probably hop on over to
Combination.
Megan Fox's. Honestly, I need a little bit of a break after all of those pictures, even if we didn't see them, still describing them. Again, I would be honest, and I probably would not be able to be a juror on this case. This would be a hard one to remain objective and only listen to the facts, but I hope that the jury is doing that.
So
I
here's where we're at. It's my opinion, and believe me, there's nobody in this courtroom who wants to keep this case moving. But it's my opinion that you're going to have to give me the audio, video, whatever it is, and I'm going to have to go back in chambers, and I'm going to have to review it. And then I can come out here and make a decision based on this law. I think that's where we're at. I don't want to send the jury away, but I'm not going to make them sit out here for 2 hours.
I think maybe you're gonna have to. I mean, if I'd have known this was gonna come up,
I know.
if they'd have known, we'd have brought this up, but.
I'm not mad at anybody.
But I do think the court needs to consider when you do this, is this a confession? Because
I am
those
trying to be mindful.
state Supreme Court cases that are cited in Brewer go back to 1965, and I don't think
Well,
that.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. And the last case that you gave me gives me this freedom. I'm not going to go back to 1965. I'm going to rely on the rules of evidence as they've been enacted in this state now for some time, in the cases that talk about the rules of evidence. 1965.
This judge, it ain't 1965. It's whatever year it is, because it's too close to January, and I keep wanting to say 2024. I love that the judge, again, it's them. Look, I am a snarkologist, and I like the little bits of snark that everyone is throwing in. I am here to dig them out and point them out.
Predates our rules of evidence.
I understand that.
And even our Supreme Court in one of these cases said, look, the defendant in that case made arguments relying on the old cases. And the Supreme Court said, look, we're going to look at this under what the rules of evidence say. And that's where that's my start.
Okay. I want you to understand, my position is this. I think the defendant, under due process protections given to her by both the Tennessee Constitution, the federal Constitution, has a right to fundamental fairness. And I think those cases, that's what they're talking about, is fundamental fairness.
I
So
think I just said that.
I'm not sure that there's a difference between, if there's, the rules of evidence provide for fundamental fairness. I understand what you're saying. Let's make it exhibit. And if I'm wrong, I think we're on the same page at least, is what needs to be done.
This bailiff is really he is right next to naptosis. Oh, for the love of Cheetos. As soon as I put you on one, you'll slow down.
I'll comment about it when we get there.
Yes, sir.
But where we're at right now, is I'm gonna have to bring the jury in. I'm gonna send them, since this is day one and they've not been to the hotel yet, I'm gonna go ahead and just send them to the hotel, because I'm gonna have to, is it listen to or watch?
It's video.
It's video.
All right. And we may have the whole issue about whether I can see and hear what's being said. I've had another case where I had Sullivan County videos that I could not hear.
What? What? Say it isn't so. The police use a Casio speak and spell from 1984 to record their interrogations? You don't say. Yes, MLS, they are sequestered. You have to remember, I do not think they got a change of venue. I will have to look back through the court documents. I do think that the defense asked for it, but I do not think they got one. They pulled 1,200 people in to seat this jury, and I believe, again, this was a fairly big case. There was a search for 17 days. A lot of, true crimers have kind of covered this. So this has been a lot in the media. She even talked to Vinnie Palate from Court TV while Evelyn was missing. So this has been a long awaited case. So I am actually shocked. They started jury selection on Monday and they were able to start Wednesday. So I was actually shocked at the speed with which they seated this jury, especially with the sequestration also being a part of it. So they're just going to bring the jury in. They're going to do the whole, don't talk to people, don't look this up on the internet, don't go to the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the, Blue Sky, Turtle Vision, all the grams. But that is where we are going to end today. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this case. It is not an easy one to cover. I did bring Our Lady of Sarcasm, to remind me to give into the petty verse and not the sad verse all the time. Yes, Jane Doe, seriously, I can get clear, crisp recordings on my phone, but police recordings still sound like a potato. Yes, I do believe that every single police department has one single Casio speak and spell from 1984 that they use to record all of their things. Now, with all the money that they, get from taxes, you thought they could maybe spiffy that up, but who knows? Thank you guys so much for joining. I will be sending you over to Megan, and probably tonight around 6 p.m. or so, we will start speed running. Okay, speed-ish running. Let's be real. I cannot stop talking. As per usual. It's part of my charm. I will attempt to speed run today, or at least the morning. Again, we are going to be a little bit behind. I do have 6 children and a cat who is fairly upset with me right now, which, what can you do about it? He had to get debulbed. It was not my fault. So I will be joining Megan in just a little bit. Again, thank you guys so much for being with me on the stream. You guys really help, Again, as much as I like to bring the petty in, this is not an easy case to cover, and you guys make it tolerable, bringing the petty, the snark, and I am proud, as always, to be your conductress. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys over on Megan's. She is doing retro trial, the killer nanny or falsely accused, Massachusetts versus Woodward, part 5. It is I think the last case that Jeff covered. So I will see you over there in a little bit until I have to go pick up my feral children. Bye, you guys.